All right, let's talk Los Angeles Rams. Look, this is a team that, as the season is progressing, we all understand they're one of the best teams in football. They're one of the smartest teams in football, and they have been making a huge change that's been going under the radar that I think sets them up absolutely perfectly. It's what McVay does. It's what the Rams do. We'll get into all this data plus some interesting reporting in just 1 second. But first, I'm Nick. That is Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, we know this Los Angeles Rams team, they're good, they're smart, but what they've done and what they're continuing to do is the reason we're so excited to always talk about them. I mean, guys, I'm coming from like the porch. You could see like I'm outside right now. You may be hearing a rooster crowing behind me. Even though we have all these distractions, we're still going to talk Rams because they do that kind of stuff, right? They're just a smart football team. If you're a fan of football and a fan of strategy, they're the best at it. And they're making more changes. Again, it's just they're head and shoulders above their competition. It's why they're emerging, in my opinion, as the team to beat in the NFC. Let's go into some recent reporting that has come out. We've talked about this a little bit over the past few weeks about some strategic changes that have happened with the Rams in terms of how they're using personnel usage. But it's not just the personnel you're using, right? It's the players you're using with that personnel and how the Rams are utilizing emerging star tight end Ferguson, Terrence Ferguson, the rookie out of Oregon, has been an absolute masterclass. Let's pull up the article courtesy of the Rams.com. Then we'll get into some interesting data on the other side. From the report, for the first 5 weeks of the season, Ferguson was either inactive, weeks 3 and 4, or played almost exclusively on special teams with no more than 4 offensive snaps. Since week 6, he's played at least 30% of the Rams' offensive snaps. Terrence Ferguson's growth and development has been another key factor in unlocking that potential in the offense. I think the thing you guys hear me say over and over is repetition's the mother of learning, head coach Sean McVay said earlier this week. He's getting better and he's using those reps to grow, and it's not exclusive to the plays that he makes when the ball is in his hands. He's doing some good stuff without the ball, learning how to be a complete tight end. We've done film reviews on Terrence Ferguson. Check him out if you haven't already. He is becoming a complete tight end. He's got ways to go as a blocker for sure, but he's pretty good at the point of attack, pretty good on the backside. And as a receiving threat, what he's done is he's created matchup nightmares for the opposition. And what the Rams have done while they've been waiting for him to develop and use him, they're now putting him in positions to be successful and in due turn, giving him more and more opportunities, and you get this massive flywheel effect. But the beautiful part about it is that Ferguson's development directly coincides with the Rams' offense improving. One of the challenges with developing a rookie is that you may get a rookie a lot more opportunities to get more repetitions and play better, but it can come at the cost of your team playing better, right? Because you're throwing in a rookie, you may be changing your scheme, you're inserting some volatility, whatever it may be. What the Rams have done with Ferguson is pretty impressive. They've put Ferguson in a developmental path that's allowed him to get better, and it's allowed the Rams as a team, as an offense, to get a lot better. And that's just not my opinion. The numbers bear that out. Let's go ahead and pull up our first graphic, Miles, if you don't mind. And this is sort of highlighting just graphically the snap counts per week of Ferguson that was mentioned in the article we highlighted just a second ago. And you can see basically weeks 2 through 5, just basically almost no snaps, right? A lot of, 4 offensive snaps total, right? Just getting not a lot of football, right? Just like the article mentioned. But then bang, things start to explode, gets more snaps in week 6. And then in week 7, you can see the numbers continue to pop off the charts as he gets more and more playing time. And again, he's getting more than 30% of the offensive snaps. They're utilizing him a lot more as they get into that 12 and 13 personnel packages, right? 1 running back, 2 tight end, 12 personnel, 1 running back, 3 tight end, 13 personnel. Just a quick refresher for anyone who needs it. So they're obviously integrating Ferguson more into the offense. And that's good for Ferguson. He's played better. But the most important thing, guys, is that the offense has played better and the team has played better. Let's pull up our next graphic here, Miles, if you don't mind. So this is right here, the EPA per week, offensive total EPA on a week-by-week basis for the Los Angeles Rams up to this point. And you can see as this graph progresses, right, the first 7-8 games of the season, it's been, a little back and forth, as it is with most teams, right? You have one good game, one bad game, one good game, one bad game as you work your way through it and figure out your team. But you will notice that the final 2 bars is that the last 2 performances for the Los Angeles Rams were their best offensive performances on an EPA basis, right? Now, look, obviously it's not completely because of Ferguson, but the reality is Ferguson's getting more playing time is directly correlating with the Rams offense having a higher EPA. And EPA, for anyone who isn't familiar, is expected points added. It's our preferred metric in terms of evaluating offensive performance from an analytical basis. yardage can be skewed, right? Because it's, garbage time yards, garbage time points. And if you have good field position, if you get the ball at the 50 and you go 50 yards and score a touchdown on a yardage basis, that looks the same as if you get the ball at your own 20 and you go 60 yards and kick a field goal, right? You can sit there and say, well, which one's better? I'll take the touchdown every time, right? EPA factors that kind of stuff in. That's why we like EPA. And by the way, this graphic is courtesy of our friends over at True Media, a great analytics platform. Check them out if you're interested in analytics for the football. But the reality is, Ferguson's snap count increase directly correlates with the Rams' offensive output increasing. And you can sit there and say, well, the Jaguars are the Jaguars. Jaguars are a winning football team. They're going to be in the playoff hunt. The Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Kansas City Chiefs, right? The Jaguars are not bad at all. They're a feisty, good football team. Well, the New Orleans Saints. Listen, the Saints, not a good record for sure, but that's because of their offensive ineptitude. That defense in New Orleans, they've got some dudes. They got some young guys, they got some veterans, right? The Saints gave the Bills some trouble, gave the Bills offense some trouble, right? So it's one of those things. The Saints, not a good football team, but that's because of their offense, not their defense. That's a feisty Saints defense. So the reality is Ferguson in some tough matchups, right? And we're not talking about, the Jacksonville game was in London, for God's sake. So it's not like it was beautifully friendly confines, smooth sailing the entire way. Tough matchup for Ferguson, and he has stepped up, done some great job blocking, great job receiving, and the offense has improved in its efficiency directly because of it. And we talked about it last week, how the Rams were on the forefront of using 12 and 13 personnel packages, and that's really important. But it only works, these grand strategic schemes only work as if you have the guys behind them to execute and you allow them to develop and use them the right way as a part of your overall strategy. If you have the Joes, the players, and they don't align with your X's and O's, problems happen. The Rams and Sean McVay have done an impressive job, once again, aligning both facets, and that's why, in my opinion, they're the best team in the NFC right now. All right, Miles, that's enough from me on this. I know you've got some thoughts. But first, Rams fans, the Ramley, if you will, in the comment section below, give us your thoughts on this Rams football team and where you think their biggest weakness is. Going to switch it up on you. What's one area of concern of this Rams team, the way things currently sit? I don't know if they have a whole lot of weaknesses, but they certainly have some. Every team does. Give us your Rams weakness that you think is a concern for you, that you would like them to hopefully clean up the rest of the way. Put it in the comment section below. But, Miles, enough from me. Over to you now. What are your thoughts on all things Los Angeles?
Yeah, Nick, I think this emergence of Terrence Ferguson has been really strong for the Rams. And it's obvious, like we said, this is a team that is really good in its own right before, especially if you look at one metric that we like, the ESPN FPI, their football power index. The Rams are the number 2 team in the NFL as far as the FPI goes. That takes everything into accounts of play, points differential, all things considered there, as well as their current strength of schedule and their remaining strength of schedule as well, which the Rams pretty favorable 14th overall remaining strength of schedule. So nothing like too tough for them. They've had a pretty balanced schedule over the entire season. So I think the Rams are in a really good spot. And if they have someone that can help accelerate this, get them even better, like the emergence of Terrence Ferguson, I think it's going to put them in a really, really great spot. And if you wonder how much is Terrence Ferguson really accelerating the team, I think you go look and you say, where have they gone? Like, what are these? Where's something we can compare? Go back to the Titans game. That's that top bar of the True Media graphic that you had on the screen, Nick, and they had a 14.55 offensive EPA. So that a bad team in the Titans. I'd probably say one of the worst, if not the worst teams in the NFL right now, and they had a 14.55 EPA. Which is pretty good. This is a team, you're playing a bad team, you're a good team, and you have a lot of EPA. So let's compare it to another bad team that they played down the stretch where he was playing more. You look at them versus the Saints, the team that's just one notch up from the Titans, second worst team, third worst team in the NFL, depending on how you look at it. And they had a 21.5 EPA. So Ferguson boosted up, gets them going there, really just, unlocks this team a little bit more, gives them a 7-point boost on their EPA. So it's really great. I think he's adding a lot to this team. And that's why I like this Rams team going on the stretch. We've talked about it numerous times. They're one of the favorites in the NFC. They're a team that has really done a whole lot of good stuff. They've a lot of roster building. We've talked about it, like you said at the beginning, a million times. The Rams and us and talking about good decisions are synonymous at this point. And I think it's just because of all of this. This Rams team has been set up beautifully, and a guy like Terrence Ferguson, they're going to explode onto the scene. I expect this team to easily make the playoffs, and I expect them, when they hit the playoffs, to make a deep run. And it's guys like Terrence Ferguson who have kept emerging. We've seen them get good, and we've seen this with other teams before too. A guy that looks good, he has flashes, and he doesn't really get the amount of push. He doesn't get the amount of growth or nurturing to get him to get to the next level. They have done that with Ferguson, and they've started to implement him more and more and more. Now we're seeing an offense for the Rams that is really flourishing. So I love this by the Rams. I like everything they have going on here. And I think this team is going to be really dangerous now going down the stretch.
Yeah, 100%. And especially when you consider the fact that Ferguson, coming out of Oregon, wasn't exactly considered the archetypal star tight end to have a rookie year impact, right? I just pulled up while you were talking his scouting profile, and basically everyone to a man said receiving tight end only, not a guy that's going to have a big impact, so on and so forth, right? That was basically the consensus among most scouting platforms. But when you look at where Ferguson sits today, he is essentially the X factor for this Rams offense. And we talked about it in our film reviews. He is a guy that goes out there and basically creates matchup problems. Now, we know the running game is there. Stafford is great. Adams, phenomenal, of course. Nakua, those are the stars. Those are the real guys, the straws that stir the drink, if you will. But you need those X factors. You need those matchup nightmares where you're like, if you're an opposing defense, okay, we're going to go heavy to stop the run, and we're going to bring in more linebackers or run-stopping safeties. Well, okay, Ferguson can eviscerate them in coverage. Okay, well, we're going to go heavier, or we're going to go lighter. We're going to get more coverage DBs on the field, and then Ferguson is just a good enough blocker, and he plays with good enough effort, and it's becoming more physical, where the Rams can just ram it down your throat. And that's all in the same personnel package. So it puts defenses in a lose if you do, lose if you don't, right? You're just in a terrible situation, and that's where Sean McVay just flourishes. He did this originally when he came to the Rams with that, that zone scheme rushing attack where it was all about, putting defenses in situations to break their rules, right? And he did that phenomenally well. And he has evolved to today in 2025 with a different approach but similar mindset with Terrence Ferguson. And in my opinion, it makes this Los Angeles Rams football team one of, if not the most dangerous team in the entire NFC. The Eagles are good, but the Rams were better. Should have beaten Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, we all understand that. The Lions are good. I think that's going to be a battle. And listen, the Packers are a talented bunch, undenying so. I think those are the four teams that have a chance to win it in the NFC. I think anyone who picks another team I don't think they're right, if I'm being honest. Those are the four teams, and the Rams, I think, are better than all of them right now, and I think they're smarter than all of them, and I think that's why they're in a great spot. My honest opinion, it comes down in the NFC to Detroit and Los Angeles, and right now the Rams, they seem like the more complete football team. They're the favorite, in my mind, in the NFC.